I really enjoy this image. So, you've probably seen the title of this video. You've probably realized that, yeah, it's been a while since I made a tier list. Sorry about that. Not really, had to go play some games. That's, been going... Yeah, it has not been going pretty well. So, in lieu of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 game loss streak, let's talk about Helluva Boss, because I need to take a break from gaming for medical reasons. Sure, that's what we'll roll with. I actually found a tier list for the thing, like, already made, so I didn't have to set one up, so I can actually link this to you guys in the comments, and you all can make your little tier list too, and maybe tweet them at me. I've got a Twitter too, so that'd be cool. That'd be fun to see, actually. I'd be down for that. But yeah, we're just gonna make a little tier list of all Helluva Boss episodes. I'm not gonna give like a huge recap of each episode. I'm just gonna be rating them, giving my reasons for why I rate them there, or maybe not really going into it that much. I don't know. I'm kind of recording this like on a whim because I thought it'd be fun. Now we actually have like 14 episodes, 15 actually if you count the pilot, which I do see is on here. So that's cool. I get to talk about the pilot too. Yippee! And maybe before I talk about each episode, I should say what each rating means to me, going from the top. So S is like perfect. A is pretty good. Maybe it's got like one problem, but it's overall like a pretty solid, pretty good episode. B is, it's good. It's alright. It's better than it is bad, but it definitely has like a few things I wish would be better. C is like mid. It's just, this is fine. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel bad about it. D tier is, I don't like this episode. I really don't like it. It's just not my cup of tea. And then this one is for one episode. I might just put that there now. Yeah, okay, we're just gonna put that one there. Is it a fucking surprise? I don't like this episode. But yeah, let's talk about all the other episodes. So, we have the pilot, and I think the pilot is... I like it more than I don't like it. I think it's pretty good. I think it's like... Well, I think it's like, it's not A tier, but it is definitely B tier. Because I feel like the pilot was what got me initially hooked on Helluva Boss, and kind of made me look forward to it more than Has Been Hotel. It had a like style to it that Has Been wasn't really able to communicate that well in its pilot, I feel. It was pretty well paced. The voices are weird to go back to and listen to. The fact that Millie and Luna have such different voices now, and the dynamics of some of the characterization is a little different. They didn't have like the whole thing ironed out from the get-go. But overall, it's really enjoyable to go and rewatch it sometimes. So if you haven't rewatched the pilot in a while, go back and watch it. It's pretty cool. And it's got the fucking jingle. I really like the jingle. You know, I'm moving it up to A tier, actually. I love the IMP jingle. I wish they used it in the show. It's so good. It's so good.
When you want somebody gone and you don't want to wait too long, call the immediate murder professionals.
Yeah, now we got to the actual episode. So, I think Murder Family is about as good of a first episode as you can get. It gets a lot done in a very short amount of time, and I really appreciate that. A real theme of the early episodes is they don't really waste a lot of your time. They kind of like move on. A scene is really only as long as it needs to be, at least in the beginning, I feel. Especially because, like, when we're watching these episodes, it is very nice to not have bloated stories, and so it's always just a nice, like, welcome. Hey, welcome back to episode 1 of season 1. And it's pretty good. I think that there's a couple things that are weird in hindsight, like how Millie gets one-shot by a bottle when she's supposed to be, like, the tank of the group, like, the best close-range fighter, and she just gets, in her first fight, like, her first showing ever in the series, which is setting up a lot of your expectations. It's your first introduction to a lot of these characters properly. She just gets hit by a bottle in the head and then gets, like, passed out, and it's like, oh, Millie's not actually that strong. And then the first episode, she's a damsel in distress. But then, most of her subsequent appearances, she's just going crazy. And then she meets Stryker again and she gets one shot. But, like, you know, for most of the show, she's just a killing machine. So that's weird in hindsight. But overall, it's really good, and it sets up a lot of things, like Stolas in the book. It sets up the whole premise of the show, which is kind of dropped later, but I like how it's used in this first episode. And it has a nice little twist where you kind of sit here and be like, oh, it's called Murder Family because they're gonna kill a family, and Moxie has to get over that. And then it's like, no, it's called Murder Family because the family is all murderers, even the kids. Whoa! I hope we see them come back in hell someday. I would not be opposed to that. Next episode, Lululand. If you had asked me when season 1 was, like, airing what my favorite episode was, it would always be Lululand. This is the episode that truly got me hooked on Helluva Boss. As time has gone on, though, mainly because of things that happened beyond this episode. It's kind of brought this down from being pretty much a perfect episode to just pretty good. Because, like, a lot of the episodes that come in Season 2 retroactively make this episode feel really weird to watch nowadays, because a lot of the... I know that I've said this before, and I'm not gonna, like, harp on it for too long, because I feel like people get annoyed when I talk about this, but it feels like the characterization of the relationship between Stolas and Stella shifted from something that had a lot more depth to it in Season 1, because we didn't see much of it. We only had the episode in Lululand, and then a sneak peek in Harvest Moon, and then it was a bunch of other people, like, talking about, like, speculating, essentially, what was going on with their relationship, right? But with that sneak peek that we did get, it felt like there was a lot more to Stella's character, which has kind of retroactively been ruined, because now when I see Stella yelling at Stolas, I'm not thinking, oh, she's jealous because she's getting cheated on, she's upset because Stolas is hanging out with another guy, like she blah blah blah, like all these theories, all this speculation, and then you get to Season 2, Episode 1, and it's just like, she's a bitch. She never liked Stolas, she had literally no romantic attention or feelings at all, like she's... And then it gets reiterated in Episode 4 of Season 2, where it's just like, Stella really doesn't like Stolas, and it's like, well, now when I rewatch that scene of Stella, like, you know, being a fucking bitch to Stolas, now I know, oh, she's not, like, mad at Stolas, per se. She's just, like, this is another thing to add onto the pile of things she doesn't like about Stolas and has never liked about Stolas, because she was torturing, like, puppies when she was a little girl. Cool. She's an irredeemable monster. That's awesome. I'm so happy that she's, like, so much flatter now. I just really don't like Stella. You might notice that episodes with Stella in it get rated lower. I don't know. Stolas, I'm going to fucking shank you! So, Spring Broken. I like this episode. I think it's pretty good. I think Spring Broken is... I don't think I enjoy it as much as Murder Family in the pilot, mainly because it is kind of... Yeah, I guess I'll bump it down to B tier, because it's more of an episode that I feel like the first time when watching it, it was really cool, and then as I've rewatched it more and more, it's kind of lost a lot of that initial wow factor. There's a portion in this episode where it feels like it kind of muddles itself around with the whole Luna Blitz plot of them having their little sideshow with Vortex and all that, and it just, like, keeps going, and I wish that it was, like, cut down a little bit. And then we have the scene of Moxie and Millie, like, kind of taking over the mission, and then Moxie gets drunk, and that's funny, but then they keep doing the joke. It's like, I feel like this episode just was a little bit too bloated on some scenes. However, what I love about this episode is Veronica. I love Veronica as a character. I think she's one of the best antagonists in the show. She is a character I kind of want to come back, but I'd totally be fine if she didn't. And her existence, her being a factor in Blitz's love life, kind of opens that whole plot line further, because we initially had Stolas and their relationship. Blitz and Stolas is kind of like, it's really ambiguous what's going on. Well, it's not ambiguous, but like, we don't know much depth about it, but we understand what's going on by Lululand. But then this episode calls into question, wait, so Blitz in his past essentially ditched this girl who's, like, also of high status in society. Does Blitz have a thing for going after people with, like, high status, using them, and because he takes her money, leaves her stranded, and, like, that whole rant thing about, like, the horse riding lessons, whatever.
Mad Blitzo, you gonna run off, leaving someone else to pay for the hotel room, steal their car, and run three rings to Rat and max my credit cards on shitty horse riding lessons?
God damn it, whore, you will not let that go!
He did that to Veronica, and now he's with Stolas, and he's using him for his grimoire. Oh, I wonder if this is, like, a habitual thing for Blitz. We also get in the background, a poster that has, like, Barbie wire on it, which is cool. And we also learn about the disguises plot. We learn a lot of things in this episode. This episode has, like, a lot of lore and world building in it, surprisingly. And we also find out in a roundabout way about, like, the crystals to get to the surface, because it's never shown how Veronica and her crew, like, get to Earth, so they don't have a grimoire, so you must kind of speculate, oh, there's other means to get to Earth. That's cool. And the coolest thing is that it's mentioned that there is some kind of hell-governing body that will punish them if they make too much of a scene on the surface, and they came really close to it. And the whole fight over, like, the parking space is really funny and petty, but the whole episode is resolved because of that outside threat of, hey, we're gonna let it spill that this situation happened unless you give us the parking spot back. And I really like that. Tied the whole episode back together in a nice, neat way. And it had a couple funny jokes. One of my favorite jokes in the entire series is from this episode, as people know. So I like it. Maybe I will bump it up. I really like cherubs. People are gonna be really mad, but I really like cherubs. It's one of my favorite episodes. I don't know what it is, but the more I rewatch this episode, the more I like it, and I understand that I am in the minority with that opinion.
Brain damage.
However, have you considered that it is a rival faction from heaven whose entire goal is to just get people to die die so they go to heaven, because hell is overpopulated, so they need people in heaven, and people are just so in their own nature doomed and damned to hell that they go out of their way to go to a fucking businessman who experimented on the poor to just beg him, please come to heaven, please just do a good deed so you can die and go to heaven. And I am Peter there to just shit on every opportunity. The joke where it's like, someone is gonna love you, one of these people will, and then it's just like, he takes the megaphone, he's like, which one of you would actually fuck this guy? And then everyone drives away. Fucking kills me every time. I love this episode. It is by far the funniest episode in Helluva Boss, and I think there's a lot of great moments in it. And even though it doesn't do too much for like the world building and the lore, as I will agree, it does feel like a very disconnected episode. It introduces the concept of heaven, confirming that it does exist. It introduces the fact that there's like other factions who aren't from Earth but go to Earth for their own like reasons, and it introduces this whole situation of like, if there's a crew of people whose entire goal is to kill people, do revenge hits on people on Earth, well, what would the heaven alternative of that be? It'd be make people do good deeds so that then they go to heaven, because I don't think there's a single person in heaven because we didn't see any up there. And also introduces my favorite headcanon with this one deer girl supplying angelic weapons to demons. I still hope that's true. It's completely made up out of nothing and total speculation, but if that's true, I'm putting this episode in S+ tier. I really like this episode. I think it's really funny. Speaking of great episodes, Harvest Moon. I love Harvest Moon. Now, I'm obviously going to put it above Cherubs because it's better than Cherubs. Like, don't worry, Cherubs is not the best episode in the whole show. I'm not that delusional. But Harvest Moon is great. We get introduced to Stryker. We get introduced to the Wrath Ring. We start actually, like, I didn't mention it, but in Lululand, we're technically in the Greed Ring, but we just didn't know it at the time. When I was watching it the first time, until we got to Season 2, I didn't realize that was the Greed Ring until many, many, many times of rewatching the episode, and then seeing Lululand later in the show confirmed it. But getting to go to the Wrath Ring, just seeing such a different environment, seeing Millie's family, getting introduced to Stryker. Oh my god, I love Stryker. Stryker's so cool. He's like a perfect foil. He's a perfect IMP all distilled into one person, because he's got the brains of Moxie. Well, actually, he's smarter than Moxie. He's more like quick-witted and silver-tongued than Blitz, and he's also able to just hold his own in a fight like Millie, and then on top of that, he's able to fucking pack a punch with his responses like Luna. So he's just bunny as shit. He's funny, he's got the money, and dude, he's so good. Like, this character is amazing. And every scene that he's in, he's got my full attention, even though we all knew he was going to be revealed to be like a twist bad guy, especially when Blitz offered him a job. It was like, okay, so he's going to turn out to be like a twist villain in the next scene, which I realized just because of storytelling, like, that's how the pace of the episode was building up to, with Moxie not trusting him, and then it's like, oh, I was right to not trust you. It wasn't just because I was being petty. But when that whole confrontation happened, I was worried Moxie would actually get, like, seriously injured. I mean, Millie, people forget because it's like, it's gone by the next episode, but Millie's leg gets fucked up so bad, she's in a cast. I thought she was going to be in a cast for, like, the next episode, too, but no, she's very mobile by the next episode. She's very mobile. Man, Stryker's a thing for going after people's legs, I guess. Huh. I just noticed that when talking about it out loud. But what is so great about this episode is it sets up what I think to be the most threatening and menacing character in the show in Stryker. Because, like I said earlier, he's just a perfect IMP, but it's like a one-man army. And even though it's not maybe how it's supposed to be interpreted, him losing the fight at the end, not because he was like outmatched, but just literally because it was like a numbers game, because after all, he's just one guy. I liked that. I liked that a lot. In hindsight, Moxie getting like blown away from the door because Luna like kicks it away, well, that's a really funny joke. I wish Stryker had some kind of influence in that, and it wasn't just like a lucky break that got him out of the situation, but I'm fine with it. It's like the one thing I wish was different in the episode out of the rest of the like 20 minutes or whatever. It's great. It is a great episode, and it is what I think starts what most people consider to be the triple threat of Harvest Moon, Truth Seekers, and House of Osmodeus. Or well, it's just called Aussies, but I call it House of Osmodeus. Whatever. These episodes are all so great, and I think that Truth Seekers beats out Harvest Moon by just a little bit. And as much as I love Aussies, I think it definitely, in later times, it's kind of fallen down my rankings to the point where I don't even consider it S tier. I consider it A tier. I think Cherubs is better than Aussies. I know, fight me, kill me. Truth Seekers is just such a great, just build-up of everything that's been hyped up in Season 1 so far. Because we have the plot of Blitz and Moxie, which is set up in Episode 1. They're already at each other's throats. To finally see them in Episode 6 actually working together, after working together to defeat Stryker, and they're actually, you know, on the same side, they're doing what they want to do because it's just, they want to do it, and they're fighting on the same side, and it's after they've come to these realizations about each other, Moxie about his boss, and Blitz kind of about himself, and also about Moxie, that one of the best fucking scenes in the entire show happens where they just are tied up, chained, it's quiet, and all they do is talk. And I miss when characters just talk to each other. I love this scene. Hearing these characters just pour their feelings out to each other, and then having them actually respond to it, and not having some bullshit fucking get in the way, and like jump the gun, and it's like, hey man, I really miss you. Brr, brr! Oh my god! There's a fucking train running down the road! I'm sorry, bro! I can't do this lovey-dovey, like, sappy shit! I gotta go! I miss when things would just slow down so characters could breathe. And the whole drug trip song sequence is great. I love the dorks, even though they're pretty fucking incompetent. They get the job done for what they need to do in the episode. And the final fight scene is still one of my favorite, with all the characters in the same room, just kind of orbiting around each other as we transition between Luna, Millie, Moxie, Blitz, all just going to town at the end of the episode. It feels like a nice, like, wrap up to everything. And then Stolas, showing why he's the fucking top dog out of everyone. When he bails these guys out of their situation, because I don't know if many other people were thinking this, but it would be cause for the higher entity mentioned in Spring Broken to actually, like, act on something. So Stolas bailing them out of that situation and bringing them back home, that's kind of cool. It is weird in hindsight that he just kind of leaves two of them arbitrarily alive, and, like, I don't, you know, obviously, I don't know if IMP knows fully that they were being watched the whole time, but, like, they should have some knowledge of the fact that, like, okay, these people knew what we did and they knew about the book, so maybe we should, like, kill them? But no, you leave two of them alive so you can come back later. Still haven't come back, by the way, which I'm fine with. Okay, maybe not, I'll mention it later. But it is just kind of weird that, like, those two characters just arbitrarily get left alive and the hundreds of other ones are killed. Maybe the hundreds of other ones are, like, showing up in hell and they're roaming around trying to find IMP. I don't know. I don't know when they'll ever make use of the humans they kill coming back for revenge in hell plot that I dream they do one day, but it'd be cool. It'd be cool. But this episode is just such a build-up and such an explosion of fun, and I love it. I love Truth Seekers. It's so good. Aussies is a nice kind of bring back down the tension of the hype of everything. I'm fine with us staying in hell for this episode, because a lot of character shit happens. Blitz and Stolas have a lot of shit going on. We finally meet Fizzarali. Oh my god. He is a great character, and the build-up and hype was so much fun to actually watch this character fully manifest in the show. It was really cool. It was a nice, like, moment. And we get introduced to what a sin of hell is like, and Osmodeus makes such a fucking statement. Such a grandiose appearance. You really feel the sort of the authority this man deserves with his song, and also with just the way and manner he carries himself, and how everyone else is looking up to him, looking at him. He's also physically incredibly imposing because he's one of the largest characters in the show, which is crazy. And even though you don't think that Moxie and Millie are gonna die or anything, it still kind of puts Moxie in a situation where he's really uncomfortable, where he's just trying to sing a song about how he loves Millie, and everyone's like, okay, we don't care about that sappy lovey-dovey shit. Talk about lust. That's what we care about. And the song is just so good, and Fizzarolli and Osmodeus are just such a great, duo together. I love seeing them. And that scene, that little segment in the song where they all start roasting Blitz, and you see Verosika comes back. Oh my god, I love Verosika. It's just so good. It's so good. So amazing. I love this episode. And then that scene where Stolas holds up the menu because he doesn't want to be seen. He's getting embarrassed, and then Blitz takes it the most horrible way ever. The melodrama. Oh, my heart. Oh, my heart. It's great. Oh, it's amazing. I can't wait to see what they do with these characters in Season 2. I had never been in the palm of Helluva Boss more than in this episode. It is probably one of the most excited times I've ever had sticking with and following a TV show for the year and a half it took to get here. And it was great. Why am I using the word was? Well, you'll see the tier list start to teeter a bit, I think. I didn't really mind Queen Bee, but I didn't really think it was very good. I think it's okay. I don't love this episode, I don't hate this episode, and on rewatch, it doesn't really do much. We meet Beelzebub, or Kesha, as I'm just gonna keep calling him. We meet this character. They don't have the same kind of grandiose that Osmodeus had, and their song is just so much worse. I'm really sorry to Kesha, but, I don't like Cotton Candy at all as a song. And while people have had, interesting theories, oh, it's supposed to sound empty and be repetitive and be about food because it's like gluttony, it's that's a great theory. I still don't like the song, though. Makes me, understand it, maybe, if that's what they were going for, but it still just sounds empty, ironically. And I felt like a lot of the characterization this episode was off. It felt like Luna was dialed up even more on her sort of social anxiety level, and the episode just had so many weird moments. The moment of Luna getting to the party and, that whole joke with the other dog about, bitches and stuff, and it's okay, I guess it's whatever. And as we keep going through the episode, it's Blitz gets to the party, and then the pacing of the episode is so weird because he gets there. He obviously is a mess. He's obviously a wreck because of the events of Aussies. This is taking place later that night, the next day, sort of is how the episode paces out. Funnily enough, episode 8 and season 2, episode 1, kind of both take place within 24 hours of Aussies, which I only guess I just realized now. That's crazy. Huh, interesting. But with this episode, Blitz shows up to the party, and then immediately in the next scene, it's hey, you're out drinking the god, or the sin of gluttony. And then the next scene, it's your dad's out of control. You need to take him home. I can feel the vibes. I'm vibe checking your dad. Something is not right. And, I feel like we're missing a scene of Blitz actually losing control, and it feels weird. It feels really, really out of sorts and disconnected from everything going on. And then there's that nice scene at the end with Luna and Blitz. I like that scene at the end. It was nice. But overall, I don't remember this episode exists some of the time until I get reminded of it. So I just don't really like it that much. Now for an episode I really don't like. I don't like the circus episode. I don't like the circus at all. I really, really don't like it. I think this episode was an eye-opening moment for me because as soon as I saw... There's a lot of things that happen in this episode. I'm just going to list all of them that I really didn't like. Stolas met Blitz when they were, really young, which to me changes their dynamic because they were not friends. Blitz and Stolas were not really friends, but Stolas, when I saw Stolas in season 1, I didn't assume that he had, the most traumatic, neglectful upbringing imaginable. I didn't see that from him. And it didn't seem like he was someone who was, so socially unaware and socially unintelligent that he couldn't understand, basic social cues. But the whole plot with Blitz and Stolas, which occupies most of the episode of them as children, is just so perplexing to me. The fact that they knew each other for 25 years. Stolas saw him at the circus, and Blitz, was performing there. They hung out once, and then 25 years have passed, and the first night they rekindle that whole, not even rekindle, the first night that, they meet each other again, they don't they weren't friends. It's just so weird. The whole setup of the episode is just really bizarre. All of the characterization with Stella, I've already mentioned it, but I fucking hate what they did to Stella. They made her such a flat character when she could have had so much depth, because the interesting thing about the Stolas and Blitz subplot to me was the fact that it was the subplot. It was kind of in the background. And not until Aussies was it brought to the focus, but even in Aussies, it was the subplot behind Moxie singing a song for Millie at this club that he had reserved a whole thing for. That was cool. That was nice. And then Blitz wanted to, like, stalk them, and because he's, he's Blitz. And he figures the only way he can get in is if he calls Stolas. He's using Stolas to see what Millie and Moxie are up to, and he's uninterested the whole time. And then the whole situation gets flipped on them where they're the focus, and Moxie and Millie are aware of him, and it's like, oh my god, what's going on? Crazy. Great episode. Great episode. In the circus episode, it's just that one of the most interesting things about the subplot was the fact that Stolas was called out multiple times by multiple characters for the fact that he was kind of abandoning the family he had made with Stella. Now, we didn't understand how horrible Stella was at the time, but there was kind of the not implication, I'll say this. A lot of people believed, myself included, because there wasn't evidence to necessarily disprove it at the time, before this episode, that Stella wasn't always a maniacal bitch, that she had become this way because of the relationship that Stolas had had with other people, namely Blitz. That was my understanding of their relationship. As time went on, however, and the circus episode demonstrated, Stella has always hated Stolas. Stella has hated Stolas before Octavia was even, like, a child. She is just a maliceful, hateful bitch who all she wants in life is to kill this fucking man, because she doesn't like him. That is her character, no more, no less. She is stupid as well. She gets stupider the more time she's on screen, which is interesting. That's a character trait, I guess. And it sucks because you have all of this interesting nuance you could dive into, and you just put your finger over the flame, you snuff it out, and you say, no, I don't want to engage in any of that. I don't want to talk about the interesting stuff. I'd rather just keep it super basic. But a lot of people felt like it wasn't that basic. Now, maybe that's a miscommunication. Maybe I was overthinking things. Maybe the way that it was written, it was more clear on rewatches. But in Season 1, Stella didn't feel like she was always like this. I always felt like it was because of the bitterness she felt because of the relationship between Stolas and Blitz. Even if their relationship isn't that great, Blitz and Stolas, like, even if their relationship is going horribly, she's still jealous because Stolas actually wants to hang out with Blitz instead of, his wife. Now, in this episode, we find out it's an arranged marriage, all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. I just really don't like what they did to Stella in this episode. I also don't like the fact that they spend so much time on this plot of Stolas and Blitz playing this stupid game, and Blitz, like, steals all this money. And that's like, Stolas, as soon as he sees him, it's not brought up. Like, Stolas isn't like, where's all that shit? Like, because, they stole a bunch of stuff in that room, and it's just, like, not accounted for at all. And Stolas, he just he just doesn't remember, I guess. He has a very good memory. Maybe he was just stupid too. Maybe he didn't realize that they were actually, like, throwing all that shit away. I mean, certainly one of the butlers, like, one of the people in the palace must have realized there's shelves and shelves of stuff missing, and the only person who came to this place in the past, like, couple of days when all this shit was here was this imp. So this imp must have stolen all this stuff from us, and then, oh, look at that. Blitz's father, oh yeah, he's in the episode. Blitz's father is also a piece of shit, and he stole a bunch of money, and oh my god, wow, what's going on? Whoa, this is crazy. It's just really, really weird. There's a lot of things I really don't like about this episode. And probably the thing that I don't like most about this episode is just the fact that, like, I really don't like the scene with Blitz and Stolas in the bedroom. It makes me so uncomfortable, because I don't feel like it... I understand what they're trying to write, but it so easily, to me, translates in a different way, with a different, like, lens on. And when I watched the episode for the first time, it kind of shocked me how far they were going in certain instances. I'm not gonna say, like, the words per se, but I would just say that this scene, the way that the writers wrote it and probably intended for it to come across, to me, still doesn't read that way, and it reads in a far worse looking way for both of these characters, and I really, really don't like it. Stolas essentially manipulating Blitz in this situation by talking about how he's his first friend, constantly, like, saying these things that are, like, making himself seem lesser and lesser and lesser, just so Blitz will, like, do something. And then Blitz essentially just coming over and taking this book, and then on the way out, bagging a score just doesn't come across that way to me. I don't know. Seeing stars. Most forgettable episode I've ever seen in my life. I think this episode literally could be removed and nothing would change. Although it is interesting because it's the last time Luna ever spoke, so maybe don't remove it. I'm gonna keep it incredibly brief. You could skip this episode and you would miss nothing. I'm not even kidding. Like, it is so fucking irrelevant. And this episode being in the plot just makes so much stuff a question. Disguises are kind of thrown out of being necessary because Moxie and Millie don't use a disguise the entire time and they're fine. Cool demon costume, man! I hate that line. The entire plot with Octavia, like, stealing the book and just running off, and, like, Stolas as a character, he's so wrapped up in this Stella plot all of a sudden that he doesn't care about his own daughter, when previously it's been shown that, you know, he may not always have her on his mind, but he cares about her a lot. So this whole situation of like, yeah, I'm not tearing the family apart, I'm doing whatever, you know, I'm always here for you, Octavia, and then he's not there for her, and then what's weird is like, I'd be fine with it if the episode like kept that, but then Luna's like, yeah, dads are complicated, you know, dads sometimes fuck up, and then Octavia's like, you know what, Dad, I think you're pretty cool sometimes. And it's like, no, Octavia, you have a right to be mad. This was like the one day of the year you wanted to spend time with him, and he blew you off so he could yell at his bitch-ass fucking divorced wife. No, you have a right to be mad. Like, Stola's apology, like, oh my god. Did Octavia overreact? Yeah. Did it cause one of the most redundant plots of an episode I've ever seen in my life? Yeah. Did we get anything meaningful out of this episode? There were a couple of jokes I was alright with, and I will be honest, I do enjoy the scene of Blitz kind of reliving his, how you say, past with Luna, the pound scene. That was alright. That was nice to see. However, what I don't like is Stolas and Blitz in this episode as well. It is so weird to me that after Aussies, for the longest time, because of the Queen Bee episode not being out, I thought that there was just like stuff we were missing. That was always what I thought. That was my cope. Turns out there wasn't. But even the first time I had watched this, it was really weird to me how they just, like, no one brought up the events of Aussies. No one. It was not mentioned, it was not talked about. Moxie, Millie, none of them talked about Aussies. It was like it literally never happened. Like, this episode took place earlier in the year, or something. It was crazy. And then, as we keep going with the plot of the episode, it feels like it's just making an excuse for them not to talk about Aussies. Where it's like, oh, they can't talk about, like, what happened the other night because Octavia's missing and they need to go save her. That's what they need to do. There's something more important than talking about their melodrama. But then when they're stuck in the back of the van, they don't talk about it. They talk about Octavia, which makes sense because she's the more important thing. At the end of the episode, it's about Octavia. And then the episode kind of ends before they could have some kind of, like, wrap-up scene. There's no mention of it at all. Like, at all. And it's really weird. Because they share, like, they're paired together in the subplot. So, in the episode, you could have just paired Blitz and Stolas to not be in the same group. But then, you know, it kind of would fuck things up. But, like, I don't know, maybe get some, like, Stolas-Luna interactions. I don't know if they've shared a single line the entire show. Actually, they probably haven't. No, actually, they've shared one line. I would like to see Stolas interact with Luna. I think they'd have some interesting dynamics if Luna has her voice. I don't know. But yeah, I really hate the episode Seeing Stars. X's and O's. I don't really like or hate this episode. There are things I think are good and things I think are really bad. Obviously you have, like, Chaz, who, out of all the villains, I feel like he gets the short end of the stick, because he's the only one that's, like, died, other than Robo Fizarali. But, like, it's so weird that out of all the villains you have, Chaz is the one to bite the dust, just to make Crimson seem more intimidating, but, like, Crimson's not intimidating at all. Crimson's never gonna fucking do anything in his life. Like, it's pathetic. There are obviously jokes in this episode that I really don't like, even if they're then followed by jokes that I do like, that I do think are funny. I think the whole plot of this episode is, again, really weird, because I don't understand what the plans of Chaz were. Like, they're gonna find out you didn't have money eventually. Like, let's say the episode plays off without a hitch. Moxie agrees, like, hey, you know what? Because this episode's also really weird, because, like, Crimson obviously is a villain. You obviously know Crimson's a villain the entire time by how Moxie's acting. So, we're gonna get some flashback scene. We get it, whatever, cool. Imagine Moxie just said, yeah, I'll fake marry Chaz, and then I'll just go back to my life. Because that was the deal that was originally proposed. If he had done that, and let's say Crimson kept to his word for this example, Chaz is gonna be revealed to have no fucking money in, like, a couple of days after the marriage, because then Crimson's gonna be like, all right, where's the money? Where is it? Give me the money. Go, Moxie, your boyfriend's not giving me any of the money, and that's really bad. Do you know what happens when you don't give me the money? And it's like, yeah, he's not gonna give you the money because he doesn't have any fucking money. The reason why they fucking find out he doesn't have any money is because Blitz sleeps with him, and it's a funny joke, it's alright, but Blitz sleeps with him, and then he's like, no one who's that bad in bed can have money. That's his reason! That's literally it! It's like, Blitz, I wish there was just a different reason. Like, he was just suspicious, he was just skeptical at the get-go, because he's like, you know, earlier at dinner he had that little slip-up. Like, I don't know, maybe there's just like some other reason. It just seems so arbitrary. It's like, we need Blitz to find out for a reason that, like, Chaz is lying. But Crimson can't know. No one else can know, so Blitz just has to sneak out there on his own, and then Chaz seems like really threatening by locking him in the trunk, whatever, fucking... That scene at the end with Moxie in a dress, and he's basically just being set up for a marriage, it's just so stupid. Oh my god, it's so weird. All the dildo jokes, I don't like the dildo jokes, I think they're stupid. Like, I don't like this episode. I really don't. And I don't like the song. I'm ranting so much, I'm moving this to D tier. Like, I don't like this episode at all. I don't like Chaz's song, like, at all. I think it's, like, a worse version of, like, a lot of other songs they've tried doing. I think the Aussie song is a way better version of what I think they were trying to do. I don't know. It's, like, this episode is just so befuddling. Like, these 3 episodes in a row, I guess 4, because Western Energy, but these episodes in a row are just so bad. I don't know how to explain it. I don't like these episodes. The one thing I do like about this episode, about X's and O's, is the fact that... It's just the way that they handle the initial introduction to Crimson. I like the progression of Crimson's, like, villainous actions being escalated every time he's in a scene. I'm alright with that. It's okay. I thought that was cool. Crimson's voice is stupid, though. The fact that I can do a Crimson impression, I think is really funny, but it doesn't make me feel any more menacing for him, because I don't think anyone's scared of me. So, my voice is not a good Crimson voice, and people say it sounds like Crimson, which is really funny. So that's funny to me. I guess I'll fucking talk about Western Energy. I really think that the dumbest moment in this entire show is he can get hurt.
He can get hurt? Hurt.
But sadly, Western Energy also has one of the sort of funniest effects of, because this episode was so bad, the biggest joke is it made me feel like Unhappy Campers was okay. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't like Unhappy Campers, but I do not feel like it is on any level of these episodes. In fact, I think I like Unhappy Campers. I'm more willing to rewatch it than Queen Bee, because I think Unhappy Campers has funnier moments and better moments and is more engaging than Queen Bee. Queen Bee just feels so forgettable. I don't like the voice Moxie does for most of the episode. I don't like the incest jokes. I don't like the dual nature of the plot. I feel like Blitz's subplot had, like, so little room to breathe. Like, we would cut to it for, like, 30 seconds and then cut away immediately, and it felt so weird, and then the plots kind of converge at the end in a half-hearted way, but it was alright. I liked Barbie Wire. I thought she was an interesting character. And while I think that the camp subplot could have been, or the camp plot could have been, there could have been a lot more done with it than they did, I liked all the jokes that they had in the montages. Now, I didn't like every song, but I did like the ending set piece a lot. I thought the ending set piece was, again, a nice action scene for the show, and it was more upbeat, and it wasn't, like, super serious. The joke where they get the crack or cocaine, whatever's thrown on their face, and they all, like, go wide-eyed, that was pretty funny. And the fact that it's also kind of the first time Millie gets real focus in the whole show, and we get, like, a plot that's mainly about her and doesn't really involve saving Moxie or anything like that, or how much she cares about Moxie, and their relationship progresses. I like that. I like the fact that it's a Millie episode. And as I said earlier, I think this episode's pretty funny, so there's that. Now, Oops. I like Oops. I think Oops is a solid episode. I think it's pretty good. I think there are things that I really don't like about it, but there are things that I really do like about it. Some of the jokes go on for way too long, but oh, that song. I love that song. For Season 2, first song that I really fucking keep bopping to, so much that I asked someone to make a remix of it, so that was cool. Thank you, Bank. But this episode was pretty good. Seeing Fizzaroli and Osmodius just existing and not having their characters completely shit on, despite the fact that they showed up in Season 1 or showing back up in Season 2, that was really refreshing. And while it does suck to see Stryker continue on his downward spiral from losing one fight, I will say, the rest of the episode, outside of any scene that Crimson and Stryker are in, was pretty good. And while there are a lot of things I wish the episode would have done, there's not much that I didn't like that the episode did do. The one really stupid thing is the fact that during the entire song, Stryker doesn't, like, fight back or anything. He mostly just kind of sits there and watches, like Crimson and all of his fucking goons, and it makes them seem so non-threatening. And then also the fact that at the end of the episode, Stryker, he's just gonna come back one more time to get shit on even more. And you know he's coming back again. I think the one thing I'd change is I'd probably move the pilot below Oops and move it down to B tier, but yeah, this is pretty much my tier list for Hell of a Boss. But yeah, share your tier list with me on Twitter, and tell me why you think my opinions are dog shit. I can see why some people would be angry. Bye bye.